if you've been married for some time, and for the purpose of today, I'm going to say over 5 years, you may notice, if you're really self-aware and if you and your partner talk a lot together, that you'll be in a pattern of arguing, of fighting with each other, and one of you will be able to step back and say, wait a minute, what are we doing? And that's because the longer you're married, what it affords you is you know your partner well. You know by what they're asking, the way they're behaving, what's really going on. But what also happens is the longer you're married, the more you want your partner to change, the more you project all of your stress, anxiety, everything going on in the world, you put that on your partner during a fight. And it creates a cognitive dissonance inside yourself. I've watched a lot of couples argue, and they've argued in my office, they've written down, they've taken notes, they've videotaped their arguments, and it's really easy to see when you're stepping back and looking at it. But when you're in the middle of it, it takes one of you to pause, get just a little bit of space, and ask your partner, what are we doing? What is this pattern? This pattern looks exactly like what we've repeated so many times in the past. It's interesting. Couples will often say we fight about the same thing, but what they forget is it's not the issue that couples fight about frequently. It's their style. It's their no-win style. I want to go through some of those no-win styles, and I want to give them to you so when they happen in your marriage, you'll be able to stop, step back, and then ask your partner, okay, this is a no-win pattern. The first one is powerlessness expressed as outrage and defensiveness. When you're powerless in an argument, and let's be honest, most of us feel that way, like there is no win in this. You know how I feel. We've been together so long. It isn't going to change. What ends up happening is you start getting more defensive and you're outraged. A lot of insults, a lot of hurtful words that you can't take back happen in this stage of feeling powerless, but yet just going for the jugular. So what I want to remind you is being powerless is not a bad thing. Being vulnerable in this pattern and saying something like, okay, I give up. Here's the white flag. Because the sooner you shut this kind of a pattern down, the more likely the two of you can come back and talk about the real issue, what's really going on. And rather than hurling insults at each other, you can be in a place where you're calm and you're able to think without just feeling like you're on the run, you're being attacked, you need to get defensiveness. The second one is wanting caring or nurturing and simultaneously pushing it away. I've seen a lot of couples that actually they're fighting so hard that when one of the partners acquiesces and say, you know what, let me give you a hug, I'm really sorry, they'll push it away because by that time they're so riled up, they're so angry that any form of admission on their partner's side, they take that as their partner's being condescending or their partner's being cocky or their partner's making light of it. It might not be that way at all, but you've convinced yourself of that because you've worked yourself into a pattern where you basically want that nurturing, you want that hug, but yet you can't. It's like your own pride inside pushes it apart. The third one is when you just have battle fatigue. You're so overwhelmed, you just give up. And it feels like something, you know, a lot of people argue or start a conflict when they want connection. And I think of battle fatigue as that way. Like you want a connection with your partner. You really do just want to say, can we talk about this? Can we eat first? Can we go out and just have a drink, a refreshment, a coffee, and sit in silence and then talk about that? But you've never been modeled that. You've never tried that in your relationship. But if you try it, you might not get into this battle fatigue where you're sleep deprived, you're food deprived, you're stressed out of your gourd, and you're trying to work through your life, and your partner starts something for connection and you just let them have it. But mostly you just throw up your arms. You make yourself feel defeated, you make your partner feel defeated, and what's worse is you shut down communication in that opportunity that you had to actually build it. Number 4, when you love, you give love and hateful thoughts or words at the same time, in the same argument. This is basically what happens in so many arguments. You love your partner. You would tell anybody, if they had a heart attack, you would rush over to them and try to revive them and help them. But you hate them too. You hate the fact that they always need to bring this up, that they're never there for you. You go through a list of things where you've been disappointed in the past, and you now take that out in the middle of this argument, feeling like you're at battle with them. So let's be clear, when you have that dichotomy of love-hate, the truth is right now you're upset, and your mind is trying to make sense of your different, polar opposite feelings. And so it usually, depending on your level of frustration, depending on your level of stress or just tiredness, exhaustion, you may just win on the hateful side. And a lot of threatening things happen here. You might say, I want a divorce. I'm going to put locks on the doors. You might throw your partner out for a simple thing that you needed space, you needed time to think, and you needed to calm down. Don't let your pride rule your mouth or your head or your heart during these kinds of altercations. Remember, they happen to everyone. It's a pattern. It's a negative pattern, but nonetheless, it's a pattern. And patterns keep going because of habits we do. And if you can calm down long enough, and one of you can see this is a pattern, it's a negative one, and we've got to stop it, it's a no-win argument, you can come back together when you're both more calm. The last one is disconnecting. When you've disconnected inside, you've given up, but you're still acting like you're fighting, like you're still going for it, but you've already detached. When this happens, it can look like even if your partner comes back and tries to be loving, you are already detached. You're aloof. You may have left the room. You may have stonewalled them. You may be passive aggressive. You may be giving them the silent treatment. All of these patterns are negative, and they're extremely hurtful to your marriage. So if you hear this video and if you watch it with your partner, these are just common everyday patterns. You may have a different one. The thing about a pattern, they're usually one end of the spectrum on one side and the other end on the other side. And that's why they call them no-win. They're polar opposites. You can't have it both ways. You're going to lose. It presents a state of feeling awkward, angry, cognitive dissonance. You just are unsettled. And that's what gives it its edge. That's what keeps the argument going. To stop it, pause, breathe, and ask your partner, do you feel like we've had this pattern before? And if so, stop it. No matter where it is, just stop it, come back to it later, and talk about it in between. If this video is helpful for you, please subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much.